Hello guys, welcome to another video, and I wanted to do another one today just discussing the last teaser that came out last night, which I completely missed. It kind of happened at the same time as I posted the other video, so this video is going to be dedicated to that. We had two teasers yesterday. The first one was describing a quality change, how quality is applied to items. So now it's going to be based on item level instead of, the different rarities. If you've got a low-level item, let's say you're just starting the game, we're at League Start, really low-level item. If you find a Blacksmith Whetstone, you can just apply that straight to the weapon. It will give you 20% quality. That is a really, really nice change. The same is going to be true for Armorsmith scraps. And they also confirmed that maps will be having a similar change. So white maps will now gain 20% quality from a chisel, and yellow maps will gain 10% quality, red maps will gain 5% quality, so that's also a nice change there. And in terms of the item level, they actually showed off a new base type, an item level 78 energy shield body armor, which I covered in the previous video. That one at item level 78 was gaining 2% quality per armorsmith scrap being used on it, and uniques are still fixed at 1% per use of those quality items. So that was the first teaser, and obviously there were some things hidden in there. There's one thing that I haven't discussed yet, which I'm not going to do in this video. I might make a separate video about it. We'll see. We don't really know anything about it. That's the life change on the boots. The life that appeared on those boots was higher than life that you can obtain right now on any pair of crafted boots. So something's going on there, but perhaps we'll gain some more information on that towards the patch notes. Anyway, the second teaser for the day was another change to quality, and this is a really big one. So, in the game now, the way our quality works is, any quality on gear is additive with any increases to the local stat that you have on that gear piece. So, if it's a physical damage weapon, quality is going to increase the physical damage of that weapon, and it's going to be additive with any other increases to the local weapon damage. If it's a body armor, let's say it's an evasion body armor, if you have increased evasion on there, that's a local increased evasion modifier, and the quality will be additive with that to increase the evasion on that body armor. Well, that's changing in a big way in patch 3.25 because quality on armor and weapons is now going to be a more multiplier to the base stat of that item. So in the case of weapons, is going to be a more multiplier for the physical damage on that weapon. And in the case of armor items, it's going to be, a more multiplier to the defense type of that item. So I've got this example here just to showcase exactly how this is going to work. So this is a Soul Taker unique axe, and I've also got a normal siege axe base type here to show you exactly what goes on. So how it works in the game right now is you have your local modifiers, which increase the damage of the weapon. On this Soul Taker axe, we've got 180% increased physical damage and adds 30 to 40 physical damage. Both of those modifiers are local modifiers which go towards making up the damage of the weapon. The flat added damage, that's the 30 to 40 physical damage modifier, that gets added directly to the flat damage that already exists on the weapon. So you can see that flat damage on the right hand side there on the siege axe. The 38 to 70 physical damage. Those two get added together, and that's the flat damage of the weapon. Then you have the 180% increased physical damage. That is additive with the 20% quality, so that brings up to 200% increased physical damage, and that 200% is then applied directly to the full flat damage of the weapon to provide your end damage of the weapon. How it's going to work in the game now with the more multiplier is that the same goes for the flat damage. It gets added directly to the flat damage of the weapon. Then the 180% increased physical damage is applied to the combined flat damage, and only then after that, the quality then comes in the new system. So it's a more multiplier. So if you have 20% quality, it's then 20% more on top of that. So that is a really, really big change. This is a huge change in the case of things where we have very large increases to a base stat on an item, like a big local increase. And we're going to cover a few of those in this video today. Now, before we get into it, I will say this. We don't have the patch notes just yet. So it's very, very possible that some of these, or maybe all of these items, have been preemptively nerfed so that when we actually get to the patch with this quality change, they end up being basically exactly the same as they were before, as a result of the quality change. But my guess would be that because some of them are not particularly popular, I think that some of them will definitely get through and they'll actually be buffed by this change, especially the weapons, right? The weapons, I think the whole point of this change is to buff physical damage weapons, which, you know, absolutely do need a buff. Okay, let's start out with some weapons, and we're going to look immediately at the Apex Cleaver, which is a heist base type, a heist exclusive base type, and this one is special. The reason why we're looking at it is because it's got an implicit for plus 40% maximum quality. So if we're taking a look on the left side, I've got 2 axes from the current system of quality, and on the right side we've got 2 axes from the new system of quality. Now, these weapons all have the same modifiers. They all have triple tier 1 maxed out prefixes and tier 1 maxed out attack speed on the suffix as well. So we're just doing this to kind of showcase exactly what's going on here. So on the left, you can see that the Apex Cleaver, even with the 60% quality bonus, it kind of just loses outright to the Despot Axe. It has a slower attack speed, it has lower DPS, and that's kind of expected because the weapon's base damage compared to the Despot Axe, the base stats of the weapon aren't great. However, with the new quality system, the Apex Cleaver gets a massive, massive buff. So you can see over here, with the multiplier included, the Apex Cleaver will reach up to 1,531 physical DPS, compared to the Despot, which gets up to 1,419. Whether the Apex Cleaver will actually make it into patch 3.25 or if it gets nerfed, who knows? I think it could be that they like to keep it in and just make it very rare from Heist, but we'll see. This is going to be an interesting one to look at. And we'll stay with the weapons for a moment. We've got Marohi Erqi, obviously a weapon that has huge flat damage on it. Not very good attack speed, but really with this weapon, you're not really caring about the DPS too much. What you really care about is how much damage each hit is doing, because it's, you know, used for things like shockwave and things like that. And this quality change, you can see, is going to massively boost the flat damage. So on the old quality system, the top end is 1,226 damage, and on the new quality system, the top end is 1,528. That is absolutely huge, a giant increase. Then we have another item, the Winds of Fate. I actually just covered this one about a week back or so in the Forgotten Unique series, and if you've watched that video or if you've used this item in the past, you know this is a really awkward item to use. You have to kind of jump through quite a few hoops to actually get it to work, and this item has a ridiculous increased physical damage roll on it. It rolls up to 800%, so we're looking at the 800% top end roll here. And you can see on the left side, the old system, we've got 605 to 1,125 physical damage. And the new system is going to be 760 to 1,415 physical damage. That's 1,414 DPS. So perhaps with the new system, this is definitely one of the items which I see not getting nerfed, by the way. I think that this item, they'll leave it exactly as it is, because it's one of those items that is so awkward to build around, and not many people use it at the moment, so this would be a really nice buff to kind of push people towards using it. So that's a really fun change there. And then we have Starforge. So Starforge, the two-handed sword, which has a huge increased physical damage roll on it. Once again, 808 DPS in the old system, 997 DPS in the new system. All of these weapons, by the way, that I'm showing have max rolls on the modifier, which, you know, increases the damage. And also, they're all at 30% quality. But still, huge boost there. Almost 200 additional physical DPS. So really, really big increase there. And now let's move on to some armours. So we know that this is going to be the same for armour. And obviously, the quality on armour will increase whatever base defences are coming from that armour. So let's take a look at Aegis Aurora to begin with. A shield which is already extremely popular. This is definitely one of the ones that I could see getting a preemptive nerf. So that increased armour and energy shield modifier might get toned down a little bit, so that then with quality it ends up being roughly the same as what it is right now. But if it doesn't get nerfed, here's what it's going to look like. So in the current patch, we've got around 1,300 armour, 265 energy shield. In the new patch, that will be 1,600 armour and 325 energy shield. That's on top of the crazy other stats that already exist on this item, like the maximum cold resistance and the recovery on block. So that is absolutely crazy. And now we've got Brass Dome. I should say that all of these armors that I'm looking at here have a max roll on the actual armor base. Obviously, Sacred Orb stonks are going to be going up this league because, you know, people want to kind of get a really good roll, especially if it's got a lot of variance on those new base types. So Brass Dome is one that people wanted to kind of take a look at and see how much this is going to affect the armor that you gain from this. Well, it turns out you're going to get a lot of armor from this if this doesn't change. So Brass Dome in the current patch with 30% quality with that max roll, 4,494 armor. And then in the new patch with that more multiplier instead, 5,512 armor. That is absolutely crazy. That is a lot of armor. Juggernauts are going to be happy with that one. We got the Brine Crown, another one that I covered in the Forgotten Unique series. Really good item, to be honest with you. Just a great item. And this one getting buffed like this is just crazy. Look how much armor you're gaining from a helmet slot. 1,341 armor and 192 energy shield. That is insane. Especially on top of the, you know, up to 100 life roll, 3 maximum cold resist, the armor while stationary. That is a really, really good helmet. Already was good. And we've got Cloak of Defiance, especially with the Archmage changes last league. This item saw a bit more gameplay in the Necropolis League. And with this change, you're going to be getting a huge amount more evasion and energy shield on this. Almost 100 additional energy shield, a bunch more evasion as well. That one's going to be really good. What about Hyrri's Ire? Look at this one. Just about breaching 4,000 evasion rating with that change when it has a maximum increased evasion rating roll. That's going to be really strong. And Incandescent Heart, another really good body armor that's used a lot at the moment. This one gaining a base defenses increase is huge. Look at the amount of armor and energy shield you're going to gain from this change. And I had to take a look at this one. Shadowstitch, obviously with 29% quality from the Tainted Armorsmith scrap. But this one just looks ridiculous if you manage to kind of get a good roll on the base armor and on the increased armor, evasion, and energy shield roll. This thing in the last patch could get up to 1,800 armor and evasion around there, and 369 energy shield. And in the new patch, this thing is going to get almost 2,200 armor and evasion rating, and 447 energy shield on a top roll. I'm looking at that thinking, that is crazy on a Juggernaut with Iron Reflexes. That's kind of good on a Trickster as well. Really, really interesting item. And we've got the Emperor's Vigilance Shield, of course. Can't do a video like this without mentioning this. And this item already has a huge amount of armor and energy shield in the current patch. And with this change, it is an absolute monster. Look at this thing. 500 energy shield with 30% quality. 2,388 armor. If you're going to use this with Seething Fury, which a lot of people already do for Shield Crush builds and things like that, the 500 energy shield would grant you 7.5% additional base crit and 200% crit multi for those offhand attacks. That's going to be really strong. I will briefly mention Ward at the end of this video here because I think Ward's an interesting one. Whether GGG are going to do something with Ward or not in this patch, nobody knows just yet. Whether they're going to add new base types for Ward, who really knows. But as it stands right now, obviously these changes to quality are going to improve the amount of Ward you can get from Ward base types already. So that's going to be a change which is going to buff Ward builds in general. But if they actually end up adding new Ward base types and potentially adding support for Ward on the tree and things like that, that is going to be insane. I wonder if they're going to even do anything like that. They are bringing in the Expedition crew for this patch, so perhaps there is going to be something there with Ward. But that's going to be about it for this one. I just kind of wanted to cover this change with the, the new quality change for the more multiplier. Also take a look at some potentially crazy unique items there. And as I said, some of these look really, really cool, but it might be the case that they get nerfed preemptively before we actually get to the patch, but we'll have to wait and see for that one, guys. What teasers are there still to come? Who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.